after Bruce Lee? Who was the next in line for you?
I mean, I think it's the obvious answer for most people, but my dad was a massive fan and had so many Jackie Chan.
Oh God, man!
The legend himself, of course.
Jackie Chan. Man.
It was. I mean, if anything, when I try and recall, I was probably even more aware of Jackie than I was Bruce Lee in the beginning. Because when you think about your earliest memories, I feel seeing more of his stuff than I did Bruce Lee, but obviously aware of it. But I think because there was so many at the time, and he filmed I think a few films in Malaysia. So
okay, I didn't know that.
Living there, I think had a big fan base, and so my dad had all these different VHS tapes and everything like that. But yeah, of course, Jackie Chan would have been the next. The next one after that I was just like, wow.
He had that Police Story trilogy, and then of course Drunken Master. For me, that was the shit. I was watching that movie and with the jugs of alcohol, and he couldn't fight until he actually got drunk.
That's right.
That fluidity he had in the movement. Like, wow.
And such a ridiculous concept when you think about it. This guy's superpower is
getting
having
drunk.
a drink, you know, and how's that for pushing alcohol marketing? You know what I mean?
Probably didn't realize the damage
Probably
they're
not
causing.
at the time,
70s or 80s, no, early 80s, I think that was.
I think Drunken Master one was 78, I think.
Okay, 78.
Yeah. Game changer. I think that's obviously everyone was like, who's this guy? After seeing that, and the athleticism and skill and talent and everything was just.
It was so different from what Bruce Lee did. Because Bruce Lee, it was very dramatic in many aspects, even the way it was shot and the cinematography and everything. Fair enough, it was American, and these were, Asian movies with a different, color grading. There was humor to it. What I really like about Jackie Chan that he incorporates that body humor into pretty much everything, and the way he uses all the objects in the room.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
I mean, it's an interesting one. I think, in my opinion, I feel Bruce Lee took his training, his life, his philosophy seriously. So I feel for him making those films, it was his passion, his belief, his life, his way of being. So I feel like his idea was to fight, like the idea of fighting for yourself, fighting for your beliefs, fighting for people, fighting for whatever it is that's important to you. And so most of all of his films are serious. So I feel that's why there wasn't so much the humor in the context of this is a comedy. It's not. There was humor in the film, obviously, with interactions and things, but it was like, I felt like he approached the subject matter very seriously. And I think you have to, being that kind of first pioneer Asian martial arts star, you want to be the person that is capable, that achieves the goals he sets himself out for, and having the capacity to do so. And I feel, who's going to follow up something like that? Already, if we're talking level of ability, talent, skill, what he's done, how he's done it. Could you imagine being Jackie Chan after that? Like, you can't be Bruce Lee, right? You can only be you. You're the best person to be yourself. And when you have a legend, I certainly wouldn't want to try and follow the exact same things. So I feel Jackie's approach to going comedy was the right thing, because it was a complete opposite. It was offering something different, something new, and adding the stunts. And so it was adding all these layers that you wouldn't get. And again, we wouldn't know because he only ever did 5 films, to say. So his career was cut short, unfortunately. So we don't really know how that could have transformed and evolved. But I think that was his only option, and clearly it's paid off for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was interesting how he translated later on to the American market. Because I'm pretty sure us Europeans, we found out about Jackie Chan maybe before the States, in a way, because he wasn't that known in the US in the early 80s.
No, I mean, you're going to have obviously your niche people that watch outside films and things like that, but probably to the main masses it wasn't as widely known, and I think a lot of them then start to make a reputation in Asia, and then they try their hand at cracking the US, which obviously hasn't always been easy, I can imagine, because some people love martial arts, some people don't. It's like it's a big pull for some, it's not necessarily for others, so it's always a fine balance. So when they do manage to pull it off, you're always like, wow, that's great, super impressive. It took him a little while, I think, because I know from what I remember, he did a few films, but they didn't blow up maybe as much as he would have wanted or should have. It probably took, I think, till the 90s for it to really go boom,
I think he really went boom in the States with Rush Hour. That was where he got this, international exposure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, it was balanced very well because it was a comedy at the end of it. It was a situation of an Asian detective coming to the States, and then you have Chris Tucker, right? Being the comedy aspect of it and just bringing that weird energy and
the dynamic was amazing.
Oh God, yeah,
it was just again the foils of serious, very skilled, comedic, and not as skilled, and just trying to get by, and they each had their talents and qualities to contribute, but it just the dynamic was
so good. I mean, they obviously kind of took a few ideas from the previous buddy cop movies, like Lethal Weapon, where you have Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, bouncing.
The buddy cop
dynamic. So it was taken in a completely interracial, culturally weird place where you have this Black American and then you have the Asian detective, and it's like wow, how does that work? And it worked. It worked like magic.
But just to add a little part in there, I think Rush Hour, solidified Jackie in the West internationally, but I feel his breakout was with Rumble in the Bronx. When that came out, I think then the West were like, wow, this guy's amazing. Who is this guy? At least to the wider masses, because I think it did really well in the US, and then I believe that might have been back end of the 80s, to early 90s, and then that's when the wave of Jackie Chan First Strike, Mr. Nice Guy, and then Rush Hour, and then all the rest of the films started flooding in after that, and well deserved, because Jackie's been working for a really long time.
I think he was way in his 40s by then. Way in his 40s.
Killing it.
Oh God, yeah, he still does. I just seen a movie with him. Just trying to remember the name. With Pierce Brosnan, he's in
The Foreigner.
Yes, and directed by I think it's Campbell, the guy who directed.
Marlon Campbell.
I'll Google it. It's the director who directed the Casino Royale, the Bond movie.
Yes. Who also did GoldenEye, right? Yeah, I believe Casino Royale was the same director who did GoldenEye for Pierce Brosnan. I'm not mistaken.
Maybe.
But if it's Campbell, I think
I can't remember his first name.
We'll check that.
Yeah, we'll check that. He's 65, I think, something like that, and he's like still kicking ass. And his acting improved so much. Like this wasn't the general action movie.
Yeah.
He's this father who's he lost his daughter in an attack, and he's like really
big
dramatic turn. It's like, whoa, look at Jackie Chan, man.
Yeah.
Totally see him as having that gravitas, that heaviness that role required.
I think as well, I'm sure you understand this as well, that sometimes you don't get the chance to fully use all your capacities, especially if he's been doing a lot of action comedies. He probably didn't get as much chances to do more dramatic roles, so he probably really lent into that, and especially in the West, right? Because most of the Western films he's done have been more funny.
Yes, absolutely.
So, like you say, here comes this dark, dramatic piece, and I think he's like, okay, let's put my fangs into this. And I thought it was
you
great.
really went for it. I really enjoyed that movie.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it.
I would have even really loved to have seen what it would have been had that been a film he'd done when he was younger in the West,
Yeah.
Because obviously he still kills it, but it would have been imagine something like when he was like a Police Story, physique peak, and then do something dramatic in the West with that. That would have been, I think that would have been pretty killer.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was and it was filmed here in London as well.
Yeah, of course.
So that was quite cool.